The Chris Bledsoe story is going mainstream. This is nuts. There's articles and papers. He's on Fox. This is amazing. This is awesome. I love it. This is what Chris Bledsoe promised. He said this was going to be the summer of Chris Bledsoe. He was going to start releasing his footage. As we will see in this interview with Jesse Waters, he has over 2,500 videos that he has taken since 2019. That's when the lady and the phenomenon started allowing him to take these videos. And he has been encouraged to share them, even prompted to share them, as if that's part of his mission here. I love it. Let's talk about it. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share in social media, and let me know what you think in the comments below. The Chris Bledsoe story is one of my favorite all-time experiencer stories. He, Peter Maxwell Slattery, and a handful of others are all tied for first place in my list of favorite experiencer stories. That's not to say that every experiencer story isn't valid and important, but in terms of giving us some idea of the scope and scale of the phenomenon, what it all means, how it interacts with us, I think there are certain experiencers that really give us more insight into that. Anyway, so let's dive into Chris Bledsoe going mainstream. The man who was chosen by a goddess, or whoever the lady is, to spread this message, the message of love and of unity with the phenomenon to the world. So let's see what he says on Fox.
Let's turn it over to Christopher Bledsoe, who personally witnessed UFOs. So, Chris, the CIA is studying you, NASA is studying you, the History Channel is studying you. Tell Jesse Waters Primetime the truth. You can summon alien orbs.
Well, it's been happening for the last 15 years, and you know, I ask them to come, and they come, and I don't know why, but they do. And I've taken 2,500 videos in the last 24 months, like you're seeing there.
How do you ask them?
I just simply say a prayer. That's all I do, and they come.
And do you
crazy as it's crazy as it's that's how it happens.
Do you think there might be something wrong with you?
No, I don't think so. I think the government's trying to figure out why this is happening. They have been for quite some time.
How did it start?
Well, it started in 2007. I was down on my luck. I'd lost basically everything. After the World Trade Center disaster, I had 130 houses a year I was building. I had 70 under construction. And Fort Bragg is where I live in that area, and they stopped buying houses. And with interest rates at 8 and 9% on construction money then, it was flying out the window so fast. I just watched it in a slow motion train wreck. And it got so that I couldn't even buy my children lunch at school after being successful for 20 years.
So you were down on your luck.
Yep. And so I was on the Cape Fear River with 3 other guys and my son, and they were fishing. I just took them there. I was contemplating everything. I was just, you know, I was thinking the worst thoughts, and I was crying out to the heavens, whoever's up there, I need help. And that's when I walked around the corner and up to the top of the hill, and these 3 big balls of fire was sitting about 300 yards away. And the next thing I know, I walked back to the fire, and it was close to 4 hours later. And there'd been a manhunt for me, and I had no clue that any more than 20 minutes had passed.
Unbelievable. All right. Well, listen, I hope these things are peaceful, because you were summoning them all over the place. And they look like they're lighting up the sky. God bless you. And just tell them I come in peace. Thank you very much.
I definitely will. Thank you, Jesse.
Now Jesse Waters is jokey and making light of it and making Chris get to the point. But Jesse Waters is a UFO believer, and he is really putting himself kind of on the line bringing somebody like Chris Bledoe on his show. You know, he's not like Lou Elizondo or Dave Grush, you know, a military guy or an intelligence guy who has nuts and bolts knowledge and expertise. He is as mystical and woo-woo as they come. But on the other hand, he's got more videos and evidence and witnesses and a wealth of facts and data that support his very mystical and trippy experiences. I can't wait for Chris to start delivering the rest of those 2,500 videos. Some of them are really, really juicy, according to what he has said. You know, in this clip, we get to see a few little, lights in the sky and talk about how Chris can summon or call these objects to him. But we don't get to see any of the really cool stuff that Chris has talked about. And of course, Waters doesn't mention the lady at all, and I wouldn't expect him to. This is a mainstream news channel, and we're lucky to have Chris on this channel at all, or any mainstream news channel. But I wouldn't expect them to talk about the lady, even though that is arguably the coolest part of his story and the most important. But this is just the beginning of Chris Bledoe's onslaught in the mainstream news. Here we have his very ad-heavy article in the Daily Mail. Man, look at all these ads. I've got to get ad blocker. But yeah, dailymail.uk. I'm a UFO experiencer who is visited by creatures with red eyes and glowing orbs. My stories are so compelling, NASA and the CIA are studying me. Yeah, I wish the Daily Mail wouldn't lean into this fear thing. I mean, I guess it gets clicks, but, Chris Bledoe's story is so much cooler than seeing some scary beings with red eyes. He met a goddess. He met the goddess, who may or may not be Hathor or Isis or whoever. But I think she identified herself as Hathor at one point, and at one point as the 1/3 of the Christian, the original Christian Trinity, back when it was the Father, the Mother, and the Son, before they according to my research and some others, that the Mother was replaced by the Holy Ghost. But there's original altars to in the earliest Christian churches. There are altars to the Mother. You can see all three: the Father, the Mother, and the Son. There's altars to all three of those, and so that was a thing in the early Christian religion. And it is from interviews with Ryan Bledoe, I believe, is where that information came up. I don't know if Chris has ever actually talked about that. Ryan is really the one who has been telling his father's story in more detail, especially even before Chris started writing a book or anything, or was giving a lot of interviews at all. Ryan was really the one spreading this information. And so a lot of my information about Chris comes from Ryan. And that's one of the things that he talks about. Anyway, moving on. I'm not going to read this whole article, but just to give you a flavor of what it says, a North Carolina man who was on the verge of giving up on life called out to the heavens for help and received a response from what he believes was the third kind. Former construction mogul Christopher Bledoe told Daily Mail that in 2007 he was nearly penniless after losing his business. I got within 50 feet at the top of the hill. I cried out, "Who's up there? Help me." And I never expected what I saw. Hovering about 150 feet above the ground were two orbs glowing a blood-red tangerine color, and Bledoe said these orbs have since appeared over his home every night. And while he is reluctant to call them aliens, he is adamant they are not from this world. It mentions that he was also on the History Channel's Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, which I'm very excited to see in a few days on August 1st. And that's also something that Jesse Waters talked about, was this upcoming episode of Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. What I really appreciate about this article by the Daily Mail, despite all these crazy ads that are all over the place, is that it does go into his experiences with the lady, at least a little bit. A woman was glowing with a white dress, the most beautiful thing you have ever seen, Bledoe said, explaining she was floating 3 feet off the ground. Of course, this is after she was a giant bull that bowled him over. bowled him over. She looked at me and said, "You know why I'm here. If you do this, I will always be with you and help you. I will help you with witnesses." Immediately, I could share it with my parents and the U.S. government. I am probably the most studied person in the world now. Bledoe has captured over 2,000 videos, and it just goes on. It doesn't go into a lot of detail about the lady, but at least she is mentioned. And since she is so integral to his story, you know, I salute you, Daily Mail, for going there. Anyway, so there you go. Chris Bledoe is going to be on the History Channel. He's on Fox. He's on the Daily Mail. I suspect this is just the beginning of the mainstream onset of Chris Bledoe, and I couldn't be more excited. I love this story. I love this man. He's spreading the good word of a divine being who is actually interacting with humanity right here on Earth, and he's the dude. But let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Are you a follower of Chris Bledoe and his story? Have you read his book, UFO of God, or been familiar with his story before then? What do you make of it all? Is it just a bunch of craziness? What about all the witnesses in the video? And the high-ranking government officials and intelligence people and NASA people that have become family friends with the Bledoes, partly in order to study them and figure out what is going on. Is the lady who she seems to be? What does that mean? Who is she? What's going on? Is she a goddess? Is she appearing as a goddess, but she's really something else and she's just appearing in this form because we can comprehend it and understanding it and latch some sort of meaning onto it? Or is she really an actual incarnation of the divine feminine? She's Hathor, she's Isis, and she is 1/3 of the original Christian Trinity. And getting back to those old Christian churches, what's really interesting is that a lot of those Christian churches ceased becoming Christian churches in that part of the world, and they were taken over by different churches. At times, they were Egyptian churches. And in some places, the same altars that worshipped the mother, the Christian mother, worshipped Isis and also Hathor. On those same altars, all three of those incarnations of the divine feminine were worshipped. The same exact altar represented all three. So is that who the lady is, an expression of the divine feminine? Or is she merely representing herself as that because that's something we can kind of comprehend? Here she is, the lady, the being that is an important part of Chris Bledoe's life and interacts with him regularly, at least once a year apparently, something like that. And here is the bull that bowled him over when at their first meeting, and then the bull vanished and she appeared, apparently the same entity. And of course, Hathor is also represented as a bull and also as a human-looking woman. So who is the lady? Will the lady go mainstream as Chris Bledoe does? Will she become a household word? Is that her plan all along? You're a wily one, lady. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But seriously, isn't this a cool picture? An artist did this as a representation of what Chris saw. He says the face is a little different, but basically this is her. So anyway, let me know what you think about all this, and if you've enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. Join me on social media. I'd love to see you guys there on Facebook and Twitter or Xer. And yeah, and there's plenty of other videos to check out on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.